Dear students, in the last class we were discussed here some of the numericals based on that hydrogen spectrum. So in this session we are going to discuss here today limitations of Bohr's atomic model. So guys, as we already come across with here Bohr's atomic model, but we didn't study so far, that is limitations of that particular Bohr's atomic model. Then what are those particular limitations we'll discuss here one by one. Okay, that is limitations of Bohr's atomic model. Limitations of Bohr's atomic model. So yes guys, so what is the first limitations of Bohr's atomic model means here? See, that particular Bohr's atomic model, it could not explain here, that is hydrogen spectrum, means that is spectrum of that particularly multi-electron species. Okay, he could explain only the spectrum of a single electron species, but he could not explain that here a spectrum of a multi-electron species, means more than one electron, atom which consists of in here more than one particular electron. So he could not explain that spectra for such kind of species. Okay, this is the major limitations of that here Bohr's atomic model. So let's write down guys here, that is very first limitations of that Bohr's atomic model would be here like that, that is it could not explain spectra of atoms having more than one electron, or in other words, if you can say that multi-electron species. Okay, the thing is that he only explained that here only single electrons atoms, means only single electron species like hydrogen or He plus or Li plus 2 or Be plus 3, like that. Only the spectrum only restricted to those particular species, but he could not explain here that is a atom having that here more than one electron. He could not explain that is spectra of atom having that more than one particular electron. So this is the very first major limitations of here Bohr's atomic model. Okay, and next guys, and he could not explain, means that particular theory could not explain here the two major effects here. One will be Zeeman effect and another will be Stark effect. Then what is mean by Zeeman and Stark here? Okay, so we'll discuss that particular effect right now. So basically it could not explain Zeeman effect and Stark effect So guys, here Zeeman effect is nothing but that is splitting up of an spectral lines in the presence of an magnetic field. That is nothing but here Zeeman effect. So Zeeman effect can stands for here, that is splitting up of an spectral line in the presence of magnetic field, that is Zeeman effect guys. And then what is meant by Stark effect here? So Stark effect is nothing but here, that is also the same thing, splitting process has to be taking place but in the presence of an electric field. Okay, so in that Zeeman effect we are going to get here a fine structure of the spectral line, but here we are going to get here hyperfine structure in the case of Stark effect. So let's write down, that is the same thing here, splitting up of an spectral line in the presence of electric field. See, in the case of Zeeman effect we are going to get here a spectral line as in the form of a very fine structure, but as in the case of Stark effect, means in the presence of electric field we are going to get there over a hyper fine structure of an spectral lines guys. Okay, so these two particular effect that particular theory could not explain. Okay, this is the second major limitations of an here Bohr's atomic model. And guys, at the same time, as we know that here the third particular limitations of Bohr's atomic model. So this particular Bohr's theory, it could not explain here the two major concepts, means that is completely ignores here. So those are which particular concept means one will be a de Broglie. So you know that a matter and a light character, that is de Broglie, that can shows that here a particular microscopic particle can have the two particular character, right? That is wave and as well as a particle behavior. So that is dual nature of matter and light. That is one particular concept that particularly means completely ignores. And one more important so theory, that is Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So which we are going to discuss next session, that is okay. So that is also one of the most important limitations. It could not explain. So that third limitations of atomic model would be here, that is Bohr's atomic model. It could not explain both dual nature of matter and light and Heisenberg uncertainty principle. That is also one of the major drawbacks of that, means limitations of that particular Bohr's atomic model, guys. So this particular theory could not explain that here, means this completely ignores. Okay, so in other words, if you can say that completely ignores here these two particular concepts. One will be that is dual nature of matter and light, and Heisenberg uncertainty principle as well. Okay, these are the major concepts so which we are going to learn in the next concept, that is, so these two concepts are over, so we are going to discuss okay in this session. Okay, so these two particular theory completely ignored by here this Bohr's atomic model. Okay, these are also limitations of that particular Bohr's atomic model. And the fourth limitations would be like that. So guys, that is since we are as we are studying that is Bohr's atomic model, there would be one particular postulate has to be there, that is electrons that has to be revolve around the nucleus such that angular momentum of an electron which is equal to integral multiple of an here h by 2 pi. Okay, so that is thing here. So he could not have an here theoretical aspects about that particular postulate here. Okay, so the third limitation could be like that, the angular means that quantization of angular momentum, and idea of stationary orbit or state does not have any theoretical basis. So this is also one of the most important limitations of that here of Bohr's atomic model. The thing is that quantization of angular momentum and idea of stationary state does not have any theoretical basis, which means that if an electron that has to be revolve around the nucleus in a certain circular path, that we can call it as an orbit. Okay, that orbit must be a stationary state. He could consider that Bohr, he could consider orbit which is on here a completely stationary state. Okay, and the thing is that, and that quantization of angular momentum means if an electron revolve around the nucleus means it has some certain character, that is angular momentum. Their angular momentum which equals to, that is mvr, which equals to nh by 2 pi. So means this particular equation does not have any theoretical aspects. Okay, it does not have any theoretical basis. Okay, so this is that a major failure of that Bohr's atomic model. Then that hence that particular statement would be as considered as an their particular limitation. So this is also one of the most important limitations of an here so Bohr's atomic model. Okay, then ultimately the fifth limitations of Bohr's atomic model would be like this. See, he could not explain. He, in the sense, there is a Bohr's atomic model. He could, that this particular theory could not explain here. That is a relativistic variables like energy and mass of an particular electrons as in that moving on that particular orbit. Okay, he could not explain that particular, so factor also. Okay, let's write down, guys. That is also a fifth limitations of an here Bohr's atomic model. So it would be like that. I just have to rub these two particular statement. So I have to take down, guys. So the fifth limitations would be like that. So this theory could not explain the relativistic variables like energy and mass of an electron in motion. Okay, so this is also one of the major limitations concerned with here Bohr's atomic model. Okay, guys, so these are the limitations so regarding here Bohr's atomic model. So I have to know that, and which is most important limitations here. Okay, guys, so this is all about here limitations of Bohr's atomic model. Next, we shall discuss here one of the most important concept, guys, that is very important for your competitive and board examination purpose, that is a de Broglie wave equation. We'll discuss that particular thing here, de Broglie wave equation. So most important concepts, so this is, we'll discuss what are the stuff we are going to get in that particular concept. We'll see right now. So take down, guys. I'm going to rubbing right now. That is dual nature of matter and light. Dual nature of matter and light. Yes, guys, so the concept itself is giving glimpse of that particular, it's showing some glimpse here, means it giving some it's indicating some factor here, that is dual. So dual means what here, what we are going to, how can we understand the dual here? So dual is the limit here, particle and wave, nature. So the thing is that dual nature of matter and light. So this particular concept very first was proposed by here de Broglie. The de Broglie, he could first given this particular theory that is about dual nature of matter and light. So according to de Broglie, all the moving particles can have wave property, See, guys, observe here. So de Broglie suggested that all the moving particle can have that one particular property, that is wave property. Very much important, guys. Okay, so but the thing is that a particular particle supposed to be is moving from one place to another place, it should have that, let that particular particle can be considered as a particle, which is itself is a particle. Along with that here, if that particle supposed to be moving from one place to another place, means it should have another particular, so property, that is wave property. Hence that a single particular, you can take macroscopic or microscopic particles, means that particular particle should have that both the property, both particle and as well as that wave properties or character. That's why we can call it as here dual nature of matter and light. But the thing is that de Broglie, he could suggested that all the moving particles can have that wave property. Okay, before that particular substance which is itself is a particle, along with that here, if that particular particle supposed to be moving here, means it should have one particular character or a property, that is wave. Okay, so and that, so the thing is that the de Broglie, he could make use of that here Planck's quantum theory. Okay, so according to him, we have now one particular equation, that is E which equals to h nu. okay, and H which equals to C by lambda, we have to know that here E which equals to H C by lambda. So that is according to Planck's quantum theory, we got one particular equation. Let us take equation 1 here, E which equals to Hc by lambda. And at the same time guys, so Einstein initially, before de Broglie, Einstein already could suggested that light, this particular light, it could have also here a dual nature. Light, it could also have a dual nature. Dual nature in the sense means particle and wave character. Particle and wave character, isn't it? So the thing is that, so before de Broglie, that Einstein, he could suggested that a light, it should have that both the character, one will be particle nature and another will be wave nature. Okay, hence that a particular Einstein, he could also give one particular equation, that is, as we are more aware of that particular equation, I think so, that is energy and mass relation. What it is? E which equals to mc square, isn't it? Let us take in here equation 2. Okay, so guys, you just have to equalize these two particular equation, then we are going to get one certain equation, that is, let's take down Hc by lambda which equals to mc square. Okay, here c and square get cancelled, the remaining term have to write down here, h by lambda and mc square, sorry, mc. Suppose we have right now wavelength. Okay, so let's take that equation for wavelength means h by m into c. Okay, so we got one particular equation, but c is here velocity of an light, velocity of an light. But the thing is that guys, since we are studying here at de Broglie, so that is dual nature of matter and light. The thing is that we are going to have a velocity for an here a microscopic particle. Okay, for microscopic particle, that's why c can be replaced by here v, hence that equation becomes h by m into v. So this equation we can call to be as here a de Broglie wave equation. De Broglie wave equation, very much important equation guys, that is de Broglie wave equation. So in this particular equation, we should know here lambda is nothing but here wavelength, and h, that is Planck's constant. Planck's constant, as we more aware of this particular term, and it has one specific value, that is 6.626 into 10 to the power of minus 34 joule second, and m is nothing but here mass of an electron. Mass of an electron, since we are studying here, you know, for microscopic particle, you know, electron here is itself is a particle. Along with that, electron should have one more particular character, that is wave. Okay, that's why m is nothing but here mass of an electron, and ultimately that v stands for here velocity of an here electron, velocity of an electron. So this is the stuff guys we have to know actually in this particular concept, that is dual nature of matter and light. So could be explained, you know, with that particular equation, that is lambda which equals to h by m into v, and here the product of mass and velocity can be given by one particular term, that is p, momentum, isn't it? That's why that equation can be written as here like that, lambda h by p. This is also the same equation, this is also same, both are same, but the thing is that here mv can stands for here p is nothing but here momentum. Okay, so this is the thing guys. So this is all about here a dual nature of matter and light. Okay, that can stands for here, that is de Broglie. This equation can stands for here de Broglie wave equation, isn't it? So this is the stuff guys. So according to that de Broglie, all the moving particle can have that one particular property, that is a wave property. So in terms of, you know, he put this particular de Broglie wave equation can be, you know, given only for that here microscopic particles. Okay, like electrons, atoms, or molecules. So for such kind of you know, particles can be obtained, or can be, you know, accordance with those particular species, that equation is going to be like that. That is lambda, which equals to h divided by m into v, guys. Okay, so take down, guys. So this is all about de Broglie wave equation. So let's discuss some of the applications of that here de Broglie wave equation, which is the most important concept here. Okay, we got here and we are going to elaborate this particular equation into some other particular expression. So that's why we are going to study that particular applications, which is very essential in order to understand some sort of numericals, or in order to solve some sort of numericals. Okay, so I'm going to rub this, take down. Yes. Applications of de Broglie de Broglie wave equation. Yes, guys. So what are the major applications of de Broglie wave equations? Means the thing is that, so he could give that a relationship between kinetic energy, a relationship between kinetic energy and wavelength, guys, and wavelength, very much important. So this particular concept here have to focus on the board. Okay, so the major applications of here de Broglie wave equation would be here, that can gives that here, he can give that relationship between kinetic energy and wavelength. So how do we get that particular relationship in between those two particular factor? We'll discuss right now. So let us consider some charged pole here. Suppose let us consider that is positive and will be negative. Okay, I have a point charge here. Okay, that point having a charge q, means let us consider which is a negative charged point. Okay, that point charge q that has to be accelerated with that potential v, that can accelerated with that potential v. Okay, then what might be the gain in kinetic energy of that particular point charge? Okay, let me elaborate this particular statement some more. So like that. So I have a point. Suppose q, point q can be accelerated. Through potential, means through potential difference v, then gaining kinetic energy, which is equal to here work done, See, the thing is, guys, that particular particle is being charged and it does not have an, so you know, it doesn't be in that motion, guys. Then that will be at that particular time, for that particular point, the kinetic energy is going to be 0. When that has to be accelerated, so through potential v, then it has some sort of kinetic energy. So we have to know how much that kinetic energy is going to be gained. So that which equals to here work done. Okay, so as we know that here, that gain in kinetic energy is nothing but, kinetic energy formula would be here half mv square, isn't it? And work done is nothing but here, that is product of charge and potential, and we have a charge that is q and potential is nothing but here v, isn't it? So half mv square is there. Guys, look at this particular equation. I am just going to, you know, so means I'm going to alter this particular equation by multiplying and by dividing mass to this particular equation, means m half, I'm going to multiplication with that m to this particular equation, then which becomes m square and v square, and at the same time I'm going to divide it with that mass to this particular equation, then equation would be like that, which is 2m, which equals to q into v, that is work done is nothing but here is a product of charge and potential. Charge and potential. Then the equation could be like that. See guys, see, as we know that here there is product of m and v would be here momentum, that is p, but here m square v square has to be there, right? So then m square v square is nothing but here p square. M square v square is nothing but p square. Let's substitute in this particular equation, that is half p square by m q into v. So let's take that equation for p square here, q into v into 2m. Let's take p, that is square root of, means if you know that, send that square there over, 2m into q into v. So we got equation for momentum. Then take here de Broglie equation. Therefore, lambda which equals to h by p v, that is de Broglie equation. So let's substitute this p value in this particular equation. This lambda which equals to h by p. What it is that? 2 into m into q into v. So this is the particular equation we are going to get here, guys. So this is the thing. So this is the relationship between here kinetic energy and wavelength, that is q into v can stands for here kinetic energy and lambda. Lambda is also there. If you can write these equations to be like that, lambda which equals to h divided by square root of 2 into m and into kinetic energy. You can also write this particular equation to be like that. Okay, so guys, this is all about here a relationship between kinetic energy and wavelength with the help of de Broglie wave equation. Yes guys, so next we shall move on to that one of the most interesting concept again, that is Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So most important concepts, guys. So that is we'll discuss what are the stuff we are going to get on this particular concept. So let's discuss. So take down, guys, this particular equation. Yes, that is Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Heisenberg uncertainty principle, very much important concept. So for your both, again guys, both competitive and board examination purpose. So before knowing this particular concept, we have to know some sort of basic information regarding this particular thing here. See, if you consider one particular atom, okay, I just have an atom here. So at the center, what will be there? Obviously nucleus, okay, and electron is going to be revolving around that nucleus in a certain circular path according to Bohr. But existence of this particular orbit have been, so can be ruled out with the help of that by studying here Heisenberg uncertainty principle. You guys are come to know that at the ultimate stage of this particular concept. So let's focus on this particular thing right now. Electron that has to be revolving around that nucleus. Suppose if you are, so find out that position of an electron. Okay, so right now what you are going to do means here you have to find out that position of an electron that has to be revolve around that particular nucleus. Then what you are going to do that? So you have to use one particular light here. Okay, in order to find out that particular position of electrons which are present around that nucleus, then we have to use one particular light. Okay, that light, it should have that here a shorter wavelength. Why? Because electron is being a very small atomic means very small subatomic particle. It is completely dimensionless particle, isn't it? Hence that we are going to use that particular light for that positionize that particular electron. We should have to use that particular wavelength that has to be lesser than that of a dimensions of that particular electron. That's why the light what we are going to use to that used in order to find out that position of an electron, that light must have an here a shorter wavelength. This is an mandatory, guys. Okay, very much important concept, that is the particular, so light we are going to use in order to find out that here position of an electron, that light should have that here shorter wavelength, then only we can accurately so find out that the position of an electron. Okay, keep in your mind, this is the most important concept. Okay, in this way, so the light is nothing but here which consists of here photon, right? Okay, when that photon in the form of light hits to that particular electron, then that can be reflected in the form of light, and we can observe in our eyes. Okay, then only we could able to so position that we could able to find out that here position of an electrons around that nucleus accurately. So this is the thing. But at the same time, what about that momentum of an electron? Is it possible in order to find out that both position and momentum at the same time? Never. Why? Because see, we are going to use it here light, it's being have a shorter wavelength. But one big equation we should know here, that energy is always inversely proportional to wavelength, isn't it? Suppose shorter the wavelength, energy would be very high, isn't it? Yes or no, guys? Okay, wavelength we are going to use that a light here, that light should have that wavelength very less in shorter wavelength, hence their energy is going to be very high. Suppose the light having that higher energy supposed to be strike to that particular electrons, means what might be that speed of that particular electron? Will it reduces or will it fast? Obviously that speed of that electron is going to be changes, means that speed of electron is going to be increases. Okay, because that light having here more energy, with that more energy, with that more speed, that light, that particular light hit to that particular electrons, means that position of an electron, means that momentum of an electron is going to be changed in all the direction. So just imagine, okay, that suppose electron is supposed to be revolving like this. Okay, so a light has to be striking in the form of photon like that. That is expected path. Since electron revolve around the nucleus, means that is you can that electron is being moving in this particular path, as we assume before hitting that particular light. Okay, so after hitting of that light also we are going to expect only in this particular way. But actual fact is that when that light is going to be strike to that particular electron, it is going to be changes their path to be like that. Okay, that is actual path of an electron. Okay, when light hits to that electron. Okay, so this is the thing, guys. So I mean to say is that this theory wanted to say is that it is highly impossible in order to measure or in order to find out both position and momentum of an electron accurately and simultaneously. Okay, so this is the thing, and this is the statement has been given by here Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and this principle says that here, that Heisenberg principle states that it is impossible to determine both position and momentum of an electron accurately and simultaneously. So this is the thing, guys. So one of the most important statement has been given by here Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So electron supposed to be revolve around that nucleus, means at the same time we could not predict that here a position of an electron and momentum of an electron accurately. Okay, suppose among those two particular factor, if you can so predict any one particular factor there, or either you can so predict a position accurately or their momentum, but at the same time both the factor could not be able in order to find out their position and as well as that momentum accurately. Okay, so we should have to know these particular thing here. So that's why this theoretical aspect we should know. So in order to understand that how that Heisenberg uncertainty principle is going to be taking place means, okay, the light we have to use in order to find out that particular position of an electron, it should have that here shorter wavelength, and that light is being having an here shorter wavelength, it should have that here higher energy. With the high speed of that particular energy supposed to be light hit to that here electron, that momentum of that electron is going to be changed, means we could not get here actual path, we could not predict here actual path of that electron. Okay, so let us assume that if one particular train is supposed to be hit to that bicycles, means can you imagine that you do you predict that a actual momentum of a cycle there over? Never, right? We don't know where that has to be cycle gone and fall down, isn't it? So just like that here the scenario match up here, that light supposed to be hits to that electrons, means that that momentum of an electron we could not predict, guys, here. Okay, but that position we are going to accurately measures here. Okay, that light that has to be hit to that particular electron in the form of photon, and that can reflected against in the form of light, and that can reaches to our eyes. So with that particular thing we can easily measures, or we can easily rectify here that position of an electrons, so where actually which is located. Okay, so this is the scenario, guys, and that Heisenberg uncertainty principle actually that is wanted to say is that it is impossible to determine both position and momentum of an electron accurately and simultaneously. Okay, and along with that here he mathematically he could give one particular expression for that, that is delta x into delta p greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. This is that a Heisenberg uncertainty equation, and delta x here stands for uncertainty in position, uncertainty in position, and here the thing is that delta p uncertainty in momentum, but the thing is that so in p is nothing but here p is product of mass and velocity, but mass of an electron would be constant, which is not an uncertain thing here, but velocity is going to be constant. That's why I'm just going to alter this particular equation to be like that. So delta m into v greater than or equal to h by 4 pi, and delta x, so mass of an electron would be constant, have to take outside, that is delta v greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. Okay, and here the delta v is nothing but uncertainty in velocity, and h is nothing but, as we know, that is Planck's constant. Okay, guys, see delta x and delta v, which is inversely proportional to mass, isn't it? Suppose if you want to get a ratios between the two particular atom having that uncertainty position and uncertainty volume, then what might be the equation here? Suppose a particular atom called A having that uncertainty in their position and volume inversely proportional to their mass A, and just like that for B inversely proportional to MB. Suppose if you get that ratios between those two particular factor, means the ratio would be like that, delta x into delta V of A divided by delta x into delta V of B, which is equal to MB divided by MA, which is most important equation. So you should know this particular equation, guys, here. Okay, so these three major equations are going to be very much important. So let me concentrate here, or let me concentrate in this particular equation. Suppose I just have here delta x into delta V greater than or equal to h by 4 pi into m. Suppose in order to find out the position of a particular electron in accurately. Okay, then delta x 0 means accurately, their position is must be accurately. Okay, then what might be the impact on that position of their means momentum means their uncertainty in their velocity? That's going to be, you know, the delta v is going to be infinity, means which is error. We are going to get error as much as like infinity, means this much infinity we are going to, this much error we are going to be get when that delta x would be 0. Delta x would be 0 means accurately we are going to find out that here position of that particular electron. Then you are going to get error in that, you know, velocity of an electron would be here infinity. Okay, this is the thing. But in other way, suppose delta v can be 0, means you are going to, you know, measures that here velocity of an electron accurately, means accurately, then what might be the impact on their position? Position must be infinity, means errors, infinity is nothing but here this much of errors you are going to get when that you are going to accurately find out that here velocity of that particular electron. So that is error, means which is vice versa guys, you should know these things. Okay, so this is all about here a Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Okay, based on these particular equations and de Broglie wave equation, you guys should have that in numericals, most important. For your both competitive and board examination, you have to aware on these particular things. Okay, so guys, so this is all about here limitations. Today in this session, what we discussed means there is limitations and de Broglie wave equation and Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Okay, so in the next session we have just come up with that here one of the most important concept, that is quantum mechanics. So we'll discuss there over. So thank you Noda.